I'm Polly Warren and welcome to the Positive Perimenopause podcast. This is the place for some positive inspiration to help you through the rollercoaster ride of perimenopause. I truly believe that with the right support, knowledge and wellness tools, you can feel your best yet. Because I'm learning this life phase can be a truly exciting and often pivotal time of life. With every episode, my mission is to support and empower you to own your menopause, because it's time to start taking care of the most important person, and yes, that's you. So thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. Now let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Positive Perimenopause podcast with me, your host, Polly Warren. Hope you've had a really good week. Can you believe it's October? I really can't, although it does feel quite autumnal here in Brighton at the moment here in the UK. Now, October is World Menopause Month, which every year happens. It was started by the International Menopause Society. And the idea really is to raise awareness of menopause and to support different options on how to improve health and well-being for women in midlife and beyond. So it's a really fantastic initiative, and it all kind of peaks with World Menopause Day, which is on the 18th of October every year. So I thought, to mark it, I will do an extra special additional podcast episode that week and that day. So it'll be an extra one to the usual one which goes out. And I would love to get my lovely listeners, you lot, involved. So if you have any questions for me, and they can be about menopause, perimenopause, or they could be anything else really within reason that you would like to ask me, I will do my best to answer them on the podcast. Obviously, if I can't, I'll signpost you to someone who can answer your question. But I just thought it'd be really lovely to hear from you. So if you have a question for me, please do send it in to me. You can either email me at info@pollywarren.com, or you can come over to Instagram at pollywarrencoaching. And I would really love to hear you. I will obviously give you a shout out. And also, please do feel free to share any positive experiences that you have had in terms of managing your perimenopause. I've had some really fantastic emails recently from people who have really found things that are working for them, and it's just so good to hear. And you never know, it might help somebody else. So please do feel free to share those as well. I'm also very excited to tell you about a brand new workshop I'm going to be doing 2 days after World Menopause Day on the 20th of October. And again, I just feel that because this is World Menopause Month, I just feel that, if there's ever a time to start taking charge of your menopause, it's now. Now, this workshop is going to be really seriously useful on helping you to significantly reduce or even eliminate your menopause symptoms. This workshop is going to reduce the overwhelm of where to start, what to do. As it's World Menopause Month, there might be a lot going on, and there might be a lot of noise about menopause. And actually that can sometimes be quite overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, there's all these things I should be doing. What should I do? I don't know where to start. Which is why in this workshop, I want to give you straightforward, evidence-based solutions so that you can really finally start taking control and feeling like yourself again without the overwhelm, and start to get on with your life. Now, these solutions will be brilliant if you're taking HRT or if you're not taking HRT. Either way, they will help you to feel better and find that spark in you again. Right, on to this week's episode, which I enjoyed so much. This week, I speak to the brilliant Heather Ashely. Now, Heather and I met, well, I won't say too much because we talk about it in the when we were chatting, but Heather and I met when I did the Wim Hof Method workshop back in August. And I'm so excited to have her on the podcast and just find out more about her. Heather is a mum, and she is, as she says, she's on a mission to be strong, healthy and happy for as long as possible because she wants to continue life's great adventures with her 2 boys. As well as being a Wim Hof Method instructor, Heather is also a health coach. She's a nutritional therapist. She's a personal trainer. And last but not least, she's also a healthy habit creator. She really does take a huge amount of joy in helping others to live life to their fullest potential. I know, because I was one of those people who she really helped in this workshop. So I really think you are going to enjoy this episode. Heather has so much passion for what she does, and it just shines through in this conversation. So without further ado, please welcome the brilliant Heather Ashely. Heather, it is such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today, because we met back in August when I came and attended one of your workshops. And I have to say, it really has been quite transformational. Wow. As somebody, honestly, I'm not just saying that, it has been, because I am someone who, I like the sun, I like the heat, I'm a warm person, I'm always cold in winter. It takes a lot for me to get in the sea, although this is really changing. And I live in Brighton, so I've seen people constantly going in the sea in all weather. So I really wanted to kind of experience some cold water therapy. And I'm so glad I came along to your workshop, your Wim Hof Method workshop. And we will talk all about this today. But I'd love to start off by hearing a little bit about you and how you came to cold water therapy and training to teach the Wim Hof Method. Would be amazing.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for coming to a workshop and inviting me on. It's great to be here today. Thank you, Polly. Well, yes, like you, when it came to the cold, I was not a lover of the cold. But you wouldn't get me in the sea in the summer in the UK, never mind the winter time. So to get me to that point where I went in March 2020, to sort of give you the backstory there, really. My background's in corporate management. I was in corporate management for over 17 years, took a career break, and then went to follow my husband while he pursued his career and traveling the world, which was amazing. A very privileged position to be in. So I reached a point where my kids were getting older and I wanted to get back into working again. So I didn't want to go from being a full-time mum to a no-time mum. So that's where I trained. I was always with an interest in health. So I trained as a personal trainer, trained as a health coach, trained as a nutritional therapist. So basically, anything that I can use is to help my clients improve their health. And particularly cardio health as well, because my dad, sadly, he died suddenly at 60. So that's where, I wanted to make sure that I was going to be around for as long as I could for my children and their grandchildren, hopefully. And likewise, I wanted to share what I could and support others so they can have the longevity that they need. But the health, and it's great having longevity, but you want to have the health to enjoy it as well. So that's just to give you a little bit of background. So a bit like you, living in beautiful surroundings of Poole and Dorset, which very similar to you, by the sea in Brighton. And when I moved here, you would see people going in the sea, and I think I've been working in my subconscious mind for some time that, because I so admired them going in the seas, like, wow, all weathers, big waves, freezing, blowing a gale, very, very cold outside. And I'm stood there in my puffer and my, all my layers cold, and they're just running into the sea. And I thought, well, there must be something there. What is it that's taking them there? And in actual fact, it was one of my friends, Lucy Sanger, amazing woman, who we do some running with and different things. And she is just a complete cold immersion. Oh, just addict. Addict, probably the best way to describe it. And just through seeing her expression in her face whenever she talked about going in the sea, going in the cold, she just seemed to really light up. And I thought, well, there's obviously something there, I'm seeing this again, because it kept showing up for me in my life, Lucy and other people, as I'm sure most of us do see that, we get these little whispers in our life, and when they keep coming back, it's like, okay, I need to listen, I need to do something about it. And my husband has started doing it as well. The previous month, because he'd a broken back, and it really helped him. So I did it. I was like, right, okay, I've got to do it. So we did it, and Lucy took me in because it's one of those things I wouldn't recommend doing for the first time on your own. You want to have the support, you want to have the encouragement, and you need someone there just to help you prepare you for it as well, I think. So we went in that March, and she came in, she held my hand, and it was wild. It was windy, it was cold, it was just beautiful, and I couldn't believe how amazing I felt. I couldn't believe how amazing I felt. I thought, how, and I remember when I was in the sea, and Lucy looked at me and she went, "That's it, Heather. You know the secret now." And I thought, that is so true. It's like a secret. Well, it's not. It's a secret that I'm willing to share with as many people as who will listen to me. But and that's how I felt in the sea. Then, of course, as you know, whenever you come out, you feel amazing afterwards. You're getting that sudden rush, of the adrenaline and the noradrenaline while you're in the sea, and you're feeling amazing, and then you've got the benefits afterwards. So I just felt this was incredible, and I had to share this with as many people as possible, and that then led me through that. That then led me onto the Wim Hof journey.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you. Right. Oh my goodness. I had little tingles there when you were telling me that, because almost kind of those cold tingles. But I just imagining what it's like to go in, because it is, I mean, when you were in the sea for that first time, was it as straight away, I love this, or was it,
No.
was it, this is freaking cold, when is this going to be over? Was it more the feeling afterwards, which was kind of made you want to do it again?
No, I mean, if I could, taking it back to the beginning, when I first, and my feet were freezing, I was like, oh, this is, and it's painful. I mean, yourself, particularly in the ice, it's painful, the cold, because we're not meant to be in these, our body's saying, get the hell out of here, you're not supposed to be here, stay alive. But obviously in a controlled setting, it's safe to do it. And for obviously very controlled, but no, it was a bit uncomfortable at first. So at first I was like, oh, I'm not too sure, and then I thought, I'm just going to sink into the feeling. I've already committed to doing it, and also, I talk with my clients in my health coaching practice, and I've spoke about it at the workshops as well. I always talk about the 3 steps to motivation that work for me, and I use them. And that is, one, what's your why, before you do anything. So for me, my why for going into the sea, and everyone's why is different, and the why can change. And the more often that we ask ourselves why, we actually get down deeper to the real why, the real why we're doing it. So your why, and then the second one is putting yourself on the other end of the experience. How proud of yourself will you feel? How good will you feel afterwards? Because generally, anything that we set ourselves up to do, that we may have a bit of resistance to, but we know we should do it for whatever reasons, X, Y, Z. After we do it, how many times do we ever say, well, I wish I never did that? Never.
Yeah.
So it's creating that experience in your mind, because of course your mind doesn't know the difference between past or future. So by creating that, you're already there, you've already done it. And that helps to motivate you through it. And then the third one, in the style of good old Mel Robbins, is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. Just do it.
And you can apply this to anything, not just immersing yourself in cold water, everything, because once you know your why and remind yourself of your why, it's so powerful, isn't it? And putting yourself on the other end of your experience, whether that might be, I don't know, going for a run or going to the gym or whatever it might be, drinking something which you don't like the taste of, whatever it might be, it's going to make you feel better in the long run. I really Love that. And yeah, I do the 5 4 3 2 1 Mel Robbins
Oh,
thing most mornings actually to get myself out of bed. And it
yes.
works. You don't
Yeah.
think about it. You just go 5 4 3 2 1. And actually I say that to my kids when I wake them up in the morning as well. When they're like, I don't want to get up. It's like, just do 5 4 3 2 1. Come on, go. And it
Yeah.
works. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it does, and I used to use it actually for my. I mean, my kids are older now. I can't get away with it the same. Well, it doesn't work the same. But when they were little, as soon as I did, this was before the Mel Robbins book came out. But anytime I did, I'm sure we've all done it. As parents, to our kids, right? 5, the countdown. And for some reason, not for some reason, it's now been scientifically proven why it works. It always got them to listen and actually.
Yeah.
So no, sorry, going back to your question. So yes, it wasn't like, wow, this is amazing straight away. No, it was very much a bit of a process of going in. But once I was in and I'd done it and I got through, because the first 30 seconds to a minute is a bit spicy. It definitely is. And you need to be prepared for it. Need to be prepared, okay. And it's very much, it's all in the mind. It's these preconceived images, these preconceived thoughts and beliefs that we have that are there. And it's about trying to put them to the one side and saying, I'm just going to go in and experience and be open and curious to this experience and just sink into the sensations and know that I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be okay. And that's what I did, and get through the first minute. And once I got through the first minute, it was just like, I felt really, really good. Well, one, I felt amazing because I'd done it. Here I was doing something that I never thought I would ever do, ever. It never even came into my mind whatsoever. Not at all, Polly. So for me to do that I was pretty proud of myself, to say the least. And afterwards, I think the big thing that kind of hit me as well was the fear. There was fear there. I was scared to go in and do that. And we all know false expectations appearing real, and generally again, whenever we have these moments or these maybe challenges or whatever, and we know once we've actually embraced it and done it to the best of our ability, sometimes we've got no other choice. But ones that we do, personal challenges that we do want to take on for our own growth, our own spiritual development, our own personal development, that we can then be really proud of ourselves and feel so much better for it and stronger on the other side. And then that just leaves the options the opportunities are endless.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's that fear. It's the fear, which is, I think, which holds us so back in so many things. And I know for me as well, for the going in, it's the fear of the cold and the fear of how it's going to feel. But the moment you face it and just do it and you get through to the other side, it's the high is even bigger than the fear itself. It's just absolutely so much better. So Heather, how do you go from someone who's good, right, you go with a friend into the sea, how do you go from that, it's quite a big jump, to then become a Wim Hof instructor? So how do you get, I mean, that was a big leap. How does that happen?
Well, because from then I wanted to learn more about Wim, because I didn't really know much about him at all, and I wanted to learn more, so I did. And then I started practicing his breath work and trying to understand the method. So I was just doing the breath work at home on my own, and again, it was another. I couldn't believe, because I do, obviously as a health coach, I'm always looking at things to improve my health as well as other people's health, and any little tools and little tricks that we can pick up along the way. I'm there, I'm right at the forefront trying to use them and try them. So that was it. So I started practicing the breath work, and I'd never done, apart from doing a little bit of breath work and yoga, breath work's relatively new to me, and I couldn't believe. And yet it's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's all about the breath. Everything comes back to the breath. We can change our emotions in a few minutes just by focusing on our breath, by bringing our attention to our breath. And through practicing the Wim Hof breath work, and this was me just doing it on my own, DIY with Wim, because I was using the Wim Hof app, I couldn't believe how great I felt. I felt amazing. And this was just through doing breath work. And I couldn't believe what my retention times were, because as part of the breath work, we did it. We don't, I say retention because it's not so much hold, because you breathe as part of the active breath, at the end you exhale, and then whenever you exhale, you're removing all the CO2 from your body, so you're staying in that, we call that retention. So most people, well, I know certainly me, I couldn't retain my breath for probably 20 seconds. My kids used to mess about in the bath, with their dad, seeing how long, and they would get to a minute, and I'm like, oh my goodness me, I could never get anywhere near a minute. But here I was doing the retention, and I would get insane retention times. Like, I was like, really? Did I actually do that? So again, reinforcing this belief I had, well, we are, proving our bodies, we are way more capable than what we think we are capable of. And so through doing that, I wanted to learn more, and I felt the benefits from it. I felt the benefits from using them because I was still doing the cold immersion then in the sea, and as well as the breath work and the mindfulness, using all the 3 pillars, which is mindfulness, breath work, and the cold. And through using the combination of 3, I noticed that I started to feel a lot calmer. Not that I wouldn't say I'm a highly stressed person, but we deal with stress, we all deal with stress differently, don't we? But I did notice that the way I was able to, my clarity of thought was much better. Where in the past, where I may just have, if a stressful situation had happened, I may have gone into that, and not being my best self, let's just say. I was able to see it much clearer. I was able to see the answer much clearer. I was able to respond in a way that was in line with my values and me, how I want to be. And I didn't understand. I couldn't really put the pieces together. I just knew I started doing this, and this is how it felt. And I had so much more energy as well. So I wanted to understand the science behind it, and also I wanted to become an instructor so that I can share this with my clients, because of course you need to know it all before you can say, go out and actually share it. So they were the 2 main purposes of why I wanted to become a Wim Hof instructor, so that I could share the practice with others and they could experience the benefits, and also too, so I can understand the science behind it as well.
For those who don't know, for those who are listening, what is the Wim Hof Method? Because there's 3 parts to it, which you explained so brilliantly in our workshop. And one of them is the breath work, one of them is cold water therapy, and then the last one, which I really like, is it's the commitment, isn't it?
Yes, the mindfulness, the commitment, yes.
Wim himself created this. Can you maybe just tell us a little bit more about the background of this kind of method?
Well, Wim had been practicing. He'd always kind of had a draw to, I'm sure most people have read his book that was released last year, and I do recommend it if anyone interested. It's a great place to start to learn more. But he had always was drawn to the cold and felt the benefits in the cold. But sadly, in 95, his wife, she'd been suffering with depression, sadly, on and off for years. And she jumped off a 5th-story building and sadly took her own life. And Wim was left with with their 4 young children, himself, and in Amsterdam, left to, you can't imagine the devastation and the grief. The reality of dealing with that. No one wants to go there. So as part of that, he just naturally, intuitively started to do this practice. He went to the cold, and that was his place, his solace, his place to, I guess, take away the pain of the grief. Because when you're in the cold, whatever grief, whatever is going on in your life, whatever challenges you have in your life, because let's face it, we all have them of some kind, that is definitely a place where all you can think about is the now, where you are at that given moment in time. You can't think of anything else, and that is where it started to go. So you did that, and then he practiced the breath work as well. So again, different types of breath work. So it's through his grief, his loss, he then developed these, and the mind is connected and it's interwoven to it all, because obviously when you're in the cold, it's interwoven because you're having to, connect with yourself, be there in the here and now. And with the breath work, again, you're having to connect with and be with your breath. So again, the beauty about that is you're not thinking about what's in your shopping list or what you're going to have for dinner that night or what you've got to do. You're thinking about, okay, I need to be doing my breathe in, exhale. It's all about just bringing you here into the present moment. So that's how he then sort of developed the combination of all three. And then he discovered that he could do these incredible feats, which they thought were superhuman. You know, he can't do it. And Wim's like, well, no, I'm not superhuman. Anyone can do this. And that's where he then went on and actually demonstrated that through different trials, different research. And there's still more research going on now, which is amazing, because here's Wim, for years ago, he was some people thought he was a bit crazy. But in actual fact, he's not. You know, he's actually quite the opposite, you know, and he's coming from a place of love, sincere love, and having just spent the weekend in Amsterdam, well, but his whole, with other Wim Hof instructors, you know, you can see and you can hear, you know, he speaks from his heart. He's, you know, his intention is there for people to, you know, be healthy, strong, you know, for love, strong and healthy. So it's about taking control of our own health rather than looking for a pill to fix it. You know, there are, let's face it, you know, pharmaceuticals, there is a time and a place for it, but we could also help ourselves through this. And it's through the combination, you know, of using the mindfulness, the commitment, the cold and the breath, combination of all three. We're really retaking control of our central nervous system, which was never thought that we could. I mean, Wim basically turned science in its head, you know, one of the early research days, whenever they did the research to find out what it was. So what does that mean? That means that we can actually control, you know, our autonomic nervous system, so we can fight off, you know, we can reduce inflammation, we can build up our immune system as well, which I won't go into too much detail. It's all, you know, it's all the research is all there for you to go and get a look at. But we can fight back. You know, he was actually injected with E. coli virus, and he was able to fight that back. You know, and the two control groups and the group that he trained, they again had the same results as him, and it was through the breath work, through the mindfulness, through the cold. And that was over 10 days they did it. And yet the other control group who didn't do any of that, well, guess what? Within 30 minutes, they were suffering the symptoms, as you would expect. They were feeling sick, they were feeling nauseous, they had high temperatures, you know, not well at all. So the proof is there. And again, that's because we can take control ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I mean, it's that power of the mind, which I think no one really truly appreciates. And Wim is just such an example of what we can do with our mind, how we can control our body, how we control us. You know, he can control different systems in his body and stop them from shutting down. And it is really mind blowing and quite amazing. I know for myself that let's talk about the actual experience itself. So when I came along to the workshop, the breath work itself was quite amazing. And I remember, you know, you led us through this incredible breathing exercise. And I definitely was, I was just seeing so many different colors and shapes. But it just felt amazing. Afterwards, I felt amazing. And then we had the ice bath, and we ended up with the ice bath, and we all had the ritual of filling up the bath with the ice. And you did say, as we were doing that, put your hand in just to feel it. And I remember putting my hand in, and it hurt. It was that cold. It hurt. And at that time was thinking, how on earth am I going to get in there? I have no idea. But then also secretly at the back of my mind, I was also thinking, okay, I've got this. I'm quite resilient. I can do hard things. I've given birth 3 times. I can do hard things. And I'm quite resilient. But it was actually, as I lowered myself into that ice, what I wasn't expecting is that suddenly your body does have just a natural reaction, because I was like, I'm going to breathe through it. I'm going to keep breathing. And that was what you said. It's all about the breath. And you did say that first 30 seconds is going to be the hardest.
Yeah.
But kind of lost my breath. It was kind of, not being able to breathe. But you were just amazing. You just were so calming. You just like, breathe. This is a really difficult bit. Just breathe. And actually, after that 30 seconds, once you get into the breathing, I did feel a bit like it was labor, actually. It did remind me of that, using the breath. But once we got through that 30 seconds, it was amazing. Suddenly, your body just sort of relaxes into it. And it was totally not what I expected. And it wasn't painful, and it didn't hurt. And I managed to do the full 2 minutes. And
amazing, well done.
Yeah,
and a smile on your face as well.
Yeah, exactly, with a smile on my face. And I think, and then the most amazing thing was afterwards, those benefits. I wasn't just on a high for the rest of the day. I was on a high for the rest of the week. It stuck with me. I was really just in such a good mood and feeling amazing for the rest of the week. And so you can see why people want to do it again. And actually, since then, Heather, I have been doing cold showers every day. Every day I'm doing a cold shower. At the end of my shower, I literally turn it down. So I have my normal shower. At the end, turn it right down to cold. And I do it by breath. So as it's getting colder, I've noticed it's getting harder. Mm-hmm. But, the first bit, I breathe through the first bit and... but it kind of, again, gets easier. And I do sort of maybe 20 breaths. I don't know how many I do. I do about 20 breaths. And it does feel great when you get out. I'm a convert. I have been in the sea. Well, I'm going to try and go to the sea every week, which I've been doing. So it is amazing. And I love it. And those health benefits, as you've mentioned, make it all worthwhile. And what I want to ask you is, particularly here in Brighton, and I'm sure it's now all over the place, you see many, many middle-aged women, so women of my age, whatever the weather, as you said, in their bubble hats, in the sea. Why is it that women, particularly in midlife, are drawn to the sea? Is there any particular benefits during menopause?
I think it's got to be down to, because that great feeling that you felt, because our adrenaline, our adrenaline is up by over 520% whenever we go, in that temperature, and same in the sea. So anything 15 degrees and above, we get that sudden rush of over 500% adrenaline. So that's what makes us feel amazing. And you continue to the benefits afterwards, which is great how you noticed that, and you felt that it's up to like 5 days afterwards of being in the ice bath. But I think it's to feel good chemicals, because you get a good dose, which is your dopamine, your oxytocin, your serotonin, and your endorphins. You've got a real good kick there. I think it's also where, and personally, thankfully, touch wood, I've not suffered hot flushes yet. Hopefully I never will, but anyway, you can always be hopeful. But I think it's also to help relieve the hot flushes, because I can imagine if you're feeling really hot, just going into the cold is just like the best medicine for you. And also it's been proven to help with the rush of the dopamine and the adrenaline. Of course, the norepinephrine, what you have is you've got these drug companies, they're trying to replicate that, and they put it in antidepressants. So you're getting that naturally from the cold. Yeah. So for anyone who does suffer from anxiety or depression, that is certainly a tool that I would highly recommend. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Obviously, you see a doctor for that sort of advice, but I would highly recommend trying it, whether it is a cold shower or whether it is actually going into an open body of water, but doing it safely and never going on your own. So, and I think it's the community. Well, I know it's a fact. Community is so key. And I see this, I've seen this personally over the last couple of years now, in particular with the Friday group that I run, Win the Morning, Win the Day. Because there's nothing like being together. We're meant to be together. We're herd animals, aren't we? We're used to being in these little communities instead of being isolated in our own little houses with, depending if you're not close to family or friends. And so therefore, when you are part of a community and part of and doing, yourself, Polly, whenever you do something that you love doing and you're doing it with people, you get a rush off of seeing the enjoyment off of them, off of their faces as well as yourself. Yeah. So I'm sure it's a combination of that with the women going into the sea. because they've got that community, they feel great, and it helps with the cold flushes, and it helps reduce any anxiety that they have, and also with the inflammation. So anyone who's suffering, with inflammation or arthritis, etc., again, it helps them because it helps to naturally reduce the inflammation in their bodies.
Yeah, and also I think it really helps with resilience. It makes us all much more resilient to what is going on. I mean, we're pretty resilient as it is, but definitely does help as well, I think, doesn't it?
Very true. And it's nothing like, you start your day like that and you're like, okay, I can do anything, I've just went and braved the sea in a freezing morning, and that's me. You feel like you've had half a day and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I'm a great morning person, and I do think though sometimes when I've been for a run or something. I mean, this is more a summer thing. It's going to become more of a winter thing, but yeah, and jump in the sea, and it does make you feel totally alive. But you don't have to have the sea, as we said. If you don't have the sea near you, you can. It's a shower. So, one thing I'm interested in what are the general safety measures? So let's talk about the sea, because is it true that you should only be in the cold water for as many degrees as the water is?
The general rule of thumb is 1 minute per degree C.
Okay.
So you don't want to go beyond that, because if you go beyond that, you're then in danger of the afterdrop. So, and all that happens, a simple way of putting it with the afterdrop is your core temperature catches up with your external temperature afterwards, and you can feel cold, you can get the real shivers and chitters, because whenever you go into the sea, whenever you go into cold, what happens is your body, again, our bodies are amazing. Your body goes into vasoconstriction. So what happens is your body recognizes, you've got this amazing the hypothalamus, which is the brain stem at the back of your neck, and that's all about keeping our body at homeostasis. So we want to keep everything at a nice steady temperature. But hang on, this is cold. We need to adjust. So what it does is it shuts down the blood flow to our extremities, so our hands and our hands and our legs, and that's why some people suffer the cold in their hands and their feet, which is why you'll see people wearing booties and gloves. And again, people will ask me, Heather, should I wear booties and gloves? And I'll say, if it works for you, then yes, 100% works for you. I don't, because I'm building up the resilience. I do because the exposure helps to improve it. So, and it's not that uncomfortable for me as well. So you've just got to do, as long as you're able to do it, you just got to do what works for you. So you've got the vasoconstriction. So, and all that happens is the blood supply goes to your vital organs, because rightly so, we can do with our little pinky. But yes, we need our heart and we need our vital organs to keep it surviving. So then once we come out of the cold, and again, our body temperature adjusts because the hypothalamus recognises that we're out, it's warmer, then you've then got vasodilation, and that's where the blood supply opens up. And that's why, again, doing the cold immersion is basically a workout for our cardiovascular system. Because you can imagine it, your veins, it's, you've got the constriction where they're all closed, and then you've got them opening. And again, like any muscle we use, the more we use it, the stronger it becomes. Mm-hmm. And just to put it into context, I've mentioned it at the workshop, if we were to put our veins from end to end and our capillaries from end to end, so everything's all connected to our cardiovascular system, it would go around the world 2.5 times. Yeah. And we do that, the blood supply, going through from our heart, one circulation, that's done in less than a minute. And you're like, wow.
And also considering that cardiovascular disease is the number one reason for death in women in the Western, well, definitely in the UK, and I think probably in the States, this is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, one of the reasons why I was drawn to the methods, particularly to the cold, is because of how we can strengthen our heart, what we can do to help improve our heart health. So that's why we say, stick to the 1 minute per degree C, because if you do go beyond that, whenever you do get out the water, and that's why it's really important anytime you do cold immersion that you warm yourself up naturally. naturally is really key, because you've got that catch up, your body's catching up, because you then get that cool blood that's in your extremities, which is flushing its way around your body and it's circulating and it comes through to your core, which is why people can find, and it's okay, you may find as well, some people will just, I get it, you'll chitter, you like to,
yeah.
And that's good, because we're activating the brown fat. We love the brown fat. We want the brown fat. And that's why, again, it's also great for our metabolism. Cold water is so good for our metabolism. Hot and cold therapy. 57 minutes of sauna and 11 minutes of cold therapy a week is proven to boost our metabolism. Really fire it up.
Yeah.
And when we're having that, that's actually really good, because it's activating our brown fat. And brown fat, and we can create more brown fat. We can convert our white fat to brown fat. And why we love brown fat is because it's high in mitochondria. So mitochondria is our energy stations. Yeah. And that just means that we're able to burn more whilst at a resting state, basically. So whatever you do to warm your body up naturally, is we do it through, we do it through the horse stance. We do that as part of our method. So yeah, and that too well. It's about basically getting down into a squat, a low squat, keeping your back nice and straight, engaging your core, always engage your core. And always engaging your core and get into low squats and activate, because you're activating your quads, you're activating, the biggest muscle group in your bodies. And by doing that and getting that twist across the body, and you can get a little chant in there as well if you want as well as Wim does. And we do that to warm our bodies up naturally before we then get dried and dressed, and afterwards certainly, keep with a nice warm drink is good. Make sure you've got hats. You can wear a hat on even when you're in the water as well. That can be a good way of conserving the heat, because of course that's where we lose the most heat through our heads. And of course, get wrapped up with your layers and your gloves, and even hot water bottles as well. Yeah. And one little top tip, which was a bit of a game changer for me actually, in the winters, I always take a warm water. So it's just tap water that you can pour on your hands, so that you're not going to burn yourself. And I just use that on my feet at the end of, in the winter time, when it's really, really cold. It's just quite a nice, it feels quite luxurious, just pouring that nice warm water in your feet before you get dressed and ready to go.
Okay, good tip, because that's what I find the pain about going in the sea is it's the dressing, it's the faffy bit, isn't it? It's the kind of putting your clothes back on. So it's about trying to make that, I suppose, as easy as possible.
Yeah, and again, it's a good point you mentioned actually, because what you've got to be so careful of, and that's why you need to be so mindful of the time, Polly, because you're in there, especially when it's colder, you get more of a kick. So you can be on a real high, and you can lose track of time. So it's so important you always make sure you've got a watch with you, a clock, so that you can keep track of time, because you may feel great, but you've got to get yourself dried and ready afterwards. And I don't want to big this up and make it sound scary. It's not at all. You just make sure you keep track of your time, and you get out and you get yourself ready. And it may be that you just get yourself dried, get yourself ready, and then do the horse stance after. Depending on how cold it is, you may be more comfortable to do that, because you could get yourself, if you do leave yourself in there too long, you may find it hard to use your hands and wear loose clothing. Don't wear gym kit. Don't wear a sports bra. You can try to get a sports bra on when you're all sticky from the sea is not a good not a good idea.
No. Okay, brilliant. All right. And what about the cold shower? If someone wants to start with cold showers after listening to this, which I would really encourage you to do, what's a good way for someone to start who's never really done any cold water therapy before? How can someone start?
Okay, I would say start just like exactly what you were doing, having a warm shower, and then just gradually start to turn it cold. But again, coming back to the 3 steps of motivation, why are you doing it? And it may just be to see how it feels afterwards. So the second step, you'll then know how you feel after you do it. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. But you want to just gradually turn the temperature down. You don't need to turn it completely cold, just tune into your body. It's so important for us. We've got amazing bodies that tell us what they need. We just don't necessarily tune into it. So it's dialing into that. And gradually turn it down, and what breath is everything. So whenever it gets to the point where it is going to be colder, make sure that you do that on the exhale, because when we're exhaling, that's when we're putting in that's when we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest. We're all safe, we're all well, and it just tricks our mind into thinking everything is all good. And I would just urge you to close your eyes and just feel the experience. And, it might be okay. I'm not going to put it in my head straight away. I'll just put it on. I'll try it on my back, maybe just the back of your neck. And then you gradually work up to, and turn around and maybe put it in your chest, and then gradually work up to putting it in your head, getting it cooler for that little bit longer, and then getting it even cooler, and stretching it out to 2 minutes.
Definitely.
And 2 minutes.
The breath is what it's all about for me. You've just got to breathe, and it's breathing out, isn't it? It's that breathing out, and persevere for through those first seconds, because they're just breathe. Once you've done that, it all gets easier.
But also try and put out your mind, as I say, these beliefs, it's cold, it's freezing, and really, this is really cold, because of course the more we tell us that, the more we're going to feel that. Okay, go with a different mind shift, a mind shift, and say, okay, I'm just going to experience this. And you might just close your eyes and imagine you're standing underneath a waterfall, and in the Amazon or somewhere like that. You can be anywhere in your mind and just sink into that experience.
Yeah, love that. Brilliant, Heather. Thank you. Just because podcast is all about perimenopause, I'm just going to finish by asking you a little bit about your own perimenopause. How's it been? How are you managing it? Have you, because I do think, people gain so much from hearing other people's experiences. So how's it been for you?
I have to say, the main thing for me, I suppose, emotions. I guess I noticed my emotions have changed. I've been getting stronger, but then the other outside factors that are affected there as well with my circumstances. But so far, I've been able to stay them. I really have. I've been keeping my body moving. I think it's so important to move our bodies in any way that we possibly can, because if we don't use it, we'll lose it. And it all matters. I generally, I'm a health coach, so I'm a nutritional therapist, so I do, I live by the 80-20 rule. I do generally eat well and make sure that I'm putting the right foods into my body, because, a healthy gut, a healthy mind. That's so important. So making sure that we're getting the right, getting our veggies, we all know the right foods that we should be eating. And so I've really not suffer. I was 52 last week, so in terms of where I am, number wise, I'm 52. And my mum had a really bad, because they say it's hereditary. My mum had a really bad menopause, so I was expecting that I would get an early menopause like my mum and suffer really badly. But so far, I have to say, I don't really, apart from my hair, I noticed that, I think if I'd taken collagen, I would definitely, there's a few things that I would say, being a female, you want to start doing these things a lot earlier, but then thankfully it's becoming more acceptable and not shamed or shunned anymore or stigmatized, which is amazing. And there's just so many resources out there that I'm still, I'm sure like yourself and all of us, we're trying to pull on them and find what works for us, and just so much to learn. So I'm open to learning as much as possible, and I'm open to as many tips as possible. But so far, I've been managing to stave off any real.
Fantastic. And I wonder how much the cold water therapy is actually helping with that, because I bet it's helping a lot. So
100%. I've absolutely no doubt, Polly, that it is. And stress as well, how we manage stress in our lives. Yes. It's important that we are taking those moments to do the things that bring us joy, that are aligned with our health, and that we are taking, just to get our cortisol levels down.
It's huge. The cortisol one is huge. I think this is what, putting the right nutrients into our body and managing our cortisol levels are two of the big things I talk to my clients about, because they have such an impact on our hormone health. And I think, the breath work obviously really, really helps with that, which you're doing. and, things like meditation and all of that. So, we can't take stress out of our lives because there's always going to be stress. But what we can do, we can obviously make efforts to reduce it if we can, but it's about how we manage it, isn't it? So, yeah.
So something else I would just add there as well, and that is sugar. Sugar if where you can eliminate as much processed sugar in your diet, I would say do that completely. And you're speaking to someone, I basically survived on sugar as a child. The amount of sugar is my teeth testament to it, sadly. And my skin as well. My skin was horrendous. And water, obviously, have as much water as you possibly can too. But anyway, I could go on with loads of little things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But sugar again, and I do think, because that's an inflammation that inflames our body as well as takes us on that sugar roller coaster. So I would urge, all your listeners to please cut back on sugar. And I'm not saying I don't take sugar. Yeah, I do. I had a chocolate brownie the other day. I got chocolate brownie for my birthday, and I had some, but it's in moderation, and it's doing it consciously as well, rather than quite often as I deal a lot with my clients who are eating unconsciously, and of course that's not healthy at all.
Just to finish, Heather, I normally ask my guests for one practical, actionable tip to have a positive perimenopause, but I'm going to ask you maybe slightly differently. If someone wants to get into cold water therapy, what's one thing they could do today to get themselves closer to doing it?
Oh, there's loads. There's loads. Have I got to say one?
No, go on. If you have to say two, you can say two.
Well, shower. We've already mentioned the shower, because shower, that is something that you so can do. Because again, it's all about keeping things practical, keeping things that you can actually do. So I would say definitely do that. The other thing, as I would say, is just find a local group. There's groups all over there. I've got one down here, which is tomorrow. So I get a little plug, and it's free. I do it every Friday, 7 a.m. Branksome Beach Cafe. We meet there, and we do it 52 weeks of the year. And just going in with a group, or going in with a friend as well. And you don't even need to go fully in. Just go and just play around with it a bit. Have a bit of a paddle or whatever. You don't need to commit to taking yourself fully in and fully submerge yourself in it. But I do recommend it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Heather. If anybody would love to come to one of your workshops or look you up for health coaching, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, most social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram, Heather_Ashely, and also on Facebook. So Heather Ashely Health Fitness. You can get me on there and just sign up. You'll see my Linktree account under my bio, and you can see all my events on there that I have. And if you sign up to my emails, you'll be the first to know of my launch date. So for my workshops, for my retreats, because I've got retreats coming up. I'm really excited about that. And then also my other events, they're all on there as well.
Fantastic. I'll put all of that in the show notes. Heather, it's been such a joy talking to you today. And I have to say a huge thank you for really inspiring me to make friends with the cold. And I really am excited about, where it's going to go. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, no, thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure. And it's just an absolute joy to hear you say that, because that is, again, that is my goal, is to help and encourage people to keep it going afterwards, not just do it that once, but experience the benefits and keep it going consistently. And I would just encourage you said you're going to keep doing it every week. That's amazing. If you can get it in more than once a week, then I would encourage it, because as it starts to get colder, it can get a bit trickier and a bit more challenging. But at least you're keeping up with the cold showers, because you do build up your tolerance. So it's so much easier when you build up your tolerance, especially going in now. Now is the best time to get started in cold immersion, because the water's warmer and the outside temperature's dropping.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will put all of Heather's details in the show notes. And I really do hope that you feel even a little bit inspired to, when you next have a shower, to turn that dial down to cold and just see how it feels. Just try and ride it out for 30 seconds and then breathe. Right, that is it for this week's episode. Don't forget, if you would like to send me a question, and please do, you can email me or come over to Instagram. All the details are in the show notes. And if you would like to come and attend my workshop on the 20th of October, I'll put the link in the show notes as well. Have a really wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.